everyone, welcome to today's session on helping you become a Pear Deck expert. My name is Kaylin Burnham. I am a former classroom teacher and math coach that taught in several different school districts and grade levels, both in person and virtually. I'm on a mission to equip teachers with tools that will create lasting change, not only in their personal teaching experiences, but also in student learning. If you haven't heard about Pear Deck before, or you have heard about Pear Deck and aren't yet comfortable implementing it into your classroom yet, then this is the perfect training for you. I truly believe using Pear Deck can revolutionize your teaching and also student learning. I love that Pear Deck is using a tool that we all love and know, which is Google Slides, and taking it to the next level. So let's talk about what Pear Deck is and how to get you ready to use it in your classroom. So what is Pear Deck? Pear Deck was created by teachers for teachers. It is a web-based application for K through 12 teachers, and it allows you to make your presentations interactive to engage every student. And that's the goal, right? As educators, it is to engage every student and every lesson. And that's what I love about Pear Deck is it provides 100% student engagement. No matter how you are delivering content to your students, whenever you create a Pear Deck and present it with students, you're given two options. You can do the Pear Deck in instructor pace mode, which is great for synchronous instruction to do it with all of the students at the same time, whether virtually or in person. And then your second option, which is student pace mode. This is great for asynchronous instruction for students to complete the Pear Deck at their own pace. What I love about Pear Deck is it also incorporates seamless integrations. As I mentioned earlier, I've been in several different school districts, Apple, Microsoft, and Google. So no matter what school district you are in, you are able to create and share your Pear Deck with students. So you are able to create a Pear Deck through Google Slides and PowerPoint. For today's training purposes, I'm going to be showing you how to create a Pear Deck through Google Slides. Here are going to be our steps today for a PEAR-FECT lesson. Step 1, I'm going to be showing you how to get the Google Slides Pear Deck add-on. Step 2, how to create a Pear Deck. Step 3, join a Pear Deck. Step 4, present the Pear Deck and share you the teacher dashboard. And last, step 5, analyze data and provide student feedback. Now, I'll go ahead and mention, I know a lot of school districts pay for the premium subscription for educators. I would highly encourage you to find out if you do have this paid premium subscription. If you don't, I would also encourage you to reach out to your administration or technology department to get you set up. If you aren't able to get the premium Pear Deck subscription, no worries. I'll go ahead and show you which features are free and included in the premium. Let's dive into step 1, which is getting the Pear Deck add-on in our Google Slides. All we need to do is click Extensions, Add-ons, and Get Add-ons. Now, the Pear Deck add-on is going to pop up because I already have it installed, but you will go ahead and search Pear Deck. Whoop, it didn't go for me. Let's try that again. You'll go ahead and just search Pear Deck and it should pop up right there for you. You will install the Pear Deck for Google Slides. So really easy. All right, so now once you have it installed, all you need to do is go ahead and open that add-on. So I can click this button right here, or I can go to Extensions, Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on, and open. And you'll notice on the right-hand side of my screen now opens the Pear Deck add-on. So this houses everything moving forward, all of the magic that I need to be able to create any Pear Deck. Let's get into step 2, which is the most fun part in creating a Pear Deck. So when you are creating a Pear Deck, there are several things to consider. The first is that Pear Deck provides you with some really awesome templates. The second is that you can go ahead and create a Google slide from scratch and make it into a Pear Deck lesson using the add-on. And third is that if you already have a Google slide previously made that you've already maybe used in a lesson, or a Google slide you maybe bought from Teachers Pay Teachers, how to make that into a Pear Deck lesson. Let's start by exploring the awesome templates provided by Pear Deck. So I can go ahead and click here on our template library, and there's even more templates in the content orchard. I'll just stick here for today. I also love that Pear Deck breaks it up into nice categories for you. So we have lesson builder templates to choose from. So beginning of lesson, during lesson, end of lesson, as well as slides with learning development questions like critical thinking questions, social emotional questions and check-ins, as well as subject areas down here. So we have templates for any content area, littles, math, science, social studies, world languages, and ELA. So again, this program is for K through 12 teachers. So no matter what you teach, no matter what subject area, Pear Deck provides some awesome templates for you to choose from. All right, I'll go ahead and show you how to get a template. So it's super easy. All I need to do, let's say I'm interested in choosing one of these beginning of lesson slides, and I'll go ahead and choose this one. And it says, what do you wonder about today's topic? Now, what I love about the templates is that they are not final. I can go ahead and continue to edit them for my liking, right? Which is really nice. So I can change this question. And again, all my capabilities are still the same. I can change out the clip art. I can change out the background. So I can customize it even more. Now, here is the key piece of what makes it a Pear Deck and interactive with students. What you'll notice down here is what we call the Pear Deck foot bar. And it says it right here. This is what makes it interactive. Do not remove this bar. So this is the part that you choose of how you want students to interact and respond to this specific Google slide. So right now it has the write your response. Let's say that I didn't want students to write their response. Maybe I have littles that are not able to type fully on their keyboard. Here are some more options to choose from. So I have text, I have multiple choice, students enter in a number, we have the draw option and draggable, as well as website. So website isn't necessarily a way for students to answer a specific question. It's more of a feature that you can include on that slide, which is really neat. Okay, so let's say I have littles and I need them to draw what they wonder about today's topic. All I need to do is click the draw option, and you will now notice students are able to draw anywhere on this slide. Let's go ahead and I want to give you, I'm a visual person, so I want to give you a little bit more of a visual of what these response types looks like for the students. So the text option right there is kind of like a bubble or a pop-up window where students can text right there on that Google slide. We have choice, so this can be as many choices that you want through multiple choice or just true and false, and of course customize those choices. We have the number response where students just simply type in a number. We have the draw option that I actually just used. Students can draw, color, or write all over that Google slide. And then we have the draggable option as well. You can actually customize what icon students are dragging on that slide. And then, of course, we have website. So this is where you can embed a website. It makes it interactive, but students are not necessarily answering a question. So website is a really awesome feature. I do encourage, if you are using the website on the following Google slide, let's say that you inserted a website to a article, and then on the next slide, I would ask a question and then choose how students respond. Just want to quickly show you that a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to go back and show you how to get another template provided by Pear Deck and how to continue to edit to my liking. All right. So as I mentioned, I was an elementary teacher. So my eye is going down here to this littles category. I'll go ahead and click on this fun phonics slide, and this would be great for a kindergarten lesson. And it says, circle the items that start with B. So let's say I'm not a kindergarten teacher though. I'm a first or second grade teacher, and I want the students to write the items that start with B. So as you can see, right, like this template already done for me, and I customize it to who my learners are and maybe, their specific age. Now, remember, here's the key part. how are students interacting with this slide? So I don't want them to draw on this slide anymore. Quite frankly, they could use the draw tool to write out the words that start with B. But let's say first or second graders, they are tech savvy at that point and they are able to write in the words that start with B. I'll go ahead and click text, and you'll notice that Pear Deck Footbar is now changed to students write the words that start with B. So again, really easy. I know as classroom teachers, we kind of have all of the things to do. So it's really nice that Pear Deck provides some things already in place for us, and we can continue to edit to how we need it to our specific learners. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you how do we make a Google slide from scratch into a Pear Deck lesson. Again, really easy. So let's say I'll go ahead and add in a text box, and I want to ask students, what stood out to you the most from yesterday's reading lesson? Okay, want to make sure we have correct spelling there, and I'll go ahead and center this, make it nice and big, so when students are, oh, that says from, make sure you check your work, guys. All right, what stood out the most to you from yesterday's reading lesson? Now, if I were using this with students and not for a training, it wouldn't be as bland as this. So for right now, I'll just go ahead and quickly add my Bitmoji, which my students say flat Mrs. Burnham. So we just got something going on here. And then I need to make sure that I am including how students are interacting with this. So let's say I want students to go ahead and just draw, right? I got the space, so let's just choose draw for this one. And students are now going to be able to draw or write out what stood out the most to them from yesterday's session. So really cool. All right, I'll go ahead and give you guys another modeling of how to take a fresh Google slide and make it into a Pear Deck. Let's say students are studying parts of a plant, more specifically parts of a flower. All I need to do is insert a picture of a flower. And here we go. I'll just go ahead and plop that right in there. Okay, and again, this would be, of course, for more lower level elementary learners. All right, so I got my picture of my flower. All I need to do is insert lines for my students to write out that specific part of the flower. Now, if I was sending this out to students, I would probably incorporate some arrows, so I'm a little bit more specific on what I want them to label, but you guys get the idea. Okay, now if I want students to be able to write all over the Google slide, then I'm actually going to choose the draw feature. So again, want to make sure that the bar is there and it is making that slide interactive. So again, super easy, guys. Let's go ahead and talk about if you had a Google slide already previously made. Maybe you bought it from Teachers Pay Teachers and you want to make it interactive as a Pear Deck lesson. So let me go ahead and go to a Google slide, and now I want to make it interactive for students. So all I need to do is choose how students are interacting with it, and I'll go ahead and click draw again. I know I'm using a lot of this draw feature, but really in the primary classroom, the draw feature is one you kind of lean on. And there we go. So students now with their Chromebooks or whatever it may be can now draw in the beginning sound. So they would do A, T, D, D, and they would just write that in. So it's really fun. Students love it. It's super engaging for them. They love using technology any chance that they get. That is the good chunk of how to create a lesson using Pear Deck. Let's go ahead and actually talk about some additional features to make your Pear Deck even extra fruitful. So what we have is called Immersive Reader. This is a feature that you can turn on or off in your Pear Deck settings. So what it does is any text that you have in a Google slide or throughout the Pear Deck lesson. It provides several powerful accommodations for your students. And you guys know K through 12, our classrooms are built with such diverse learners, which makes it so special. So I love that Pear Deck not only makes it engaging for students, but it's also providing accommodations for students, which I really appreciate. If you turn it on, an icon like this will pop up in the bottom right screen, and then it will go to kind of a page that looks like this, and they're given 3 icons in the top right screen. This is where they can change text features like the size of a text. They can increase the spacing between words. They can change the font, even the color behind the text to be a little bit more easier on their eyes. There's also grammar options as well. So it will break out the syllables for students. It will highlight parts of speech as well as reading preferences. So it will highlight 1 line at a time or 2 lines at a time, whatever they set it to. There's a picture dictionary, which is great. And then also a translate feature that it can be translated into another language. I truly cannot rave enough about this feature that Pear Deck has incorporated. So I highly recommend that you do use this feature. And again, all you need to go into your settings and just turn it on. Okay. All right, so that is Immersive Reader. A second feature that you can use to make your Pear Deck extra fruitful is adding audio. So all I need to do is click Add Audio to Slide. I'm going to re-record audio because I previously did one. Re-record audio, and now it is recording my voice, and I can provide further instructions for students. All I need to do is click pause, done, save audio to slide, and then save to current slide. Now, whether students are, and it just updated right there, whether students are doing this synchronously with me, I'd probably make sure that they have headphones on, or they are doing it asynchronously at their own pace. As soon as they click there to listen, they will hear your voice right away. So very, very cool feature right there. All right, so that pretty much closes out our section of creating a Pear Deck. And so I am going to give you access to this slide deck. Just kind of give you some really fun Pear Decks to choose from that you can go ahead and just copy and start using in your classroom right away. So far, we've learned how to get the Pear Deck add-on, as well as creating a Pear Deck from scratch, using Pear Deck's templates, and then also a Google slide we already maybe had. Let's talk about how students join the Pear Deck now. So as I mentioned earlier, what I love about Pear Deck is no matter what school district you are in, it makes it really easy for students to join that Pear Deck. I'm actually going to go back into my settings, and we were looking at it earlier with the Immersive Reader, turning that on or off. Right here, it says require student logins. So Pear Deck automatically keeps this on for you, and I highly recommend that you keep it on. So when students are responding and answering the questions in your Pear Deck and you're getting those answers, their names and emails will be attached. So when you're looking over data, it makes it way easier. If you turn this feature off, students will be able to name whatever name they're going into the Pear Deck with, whether that be a nickname or whatever it may be. I think that can get a little sideways, so I recommend that you just keeping this feature on. And again, whatever district you are in, you would just choose Google or Microsoft, okay? All right, so we really actually just touched on that third option, the anonymous join. Let's focus our attention more on the students join with the link and then join with a code. So whenever you create your awesome Pear Deck and you are ready for students to be interactive with it, you are given a link that you can send out through multiple platforms. So Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom, you name it. And then after students click on that link, they sign in with their email and they are in. When students join with the code, if you want to send out the code instead of a link, they'll go to joinpd.com, which stands for joinpeardeck.com. They'll type in that code and their email again, and they are in. I know it may seem like a lot, but from experience, even with littles, once they do it the first or second time, it is super easy for them. So totally up to you whether you want to send out the link or code to students. I do recommend if you want to keep students joining with the code, then have students just bookmark joinpd.com, and that way it's easier to get to that webpage. So that is an overview of how students join the Pear Deck. Now let's get into step 4, presenting the Pear Deck. So I'll go ahead and show you the add-on again. All you need to do when that slide deck looks up to par is click Start Lesson. And we actually briefly touched on it a little bit earlier in this session, that you were given 2 options to do the Pear Deck with students. You're given student pace activity, which is great for asynchronous instruction, so students are completing it on their own pace, and then also instructor pace activity. This is where you are starting and ending it with the instructor or the teacher, okay? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and throw out a tip for you guys. If you have a student who is absent and you do your Pear Deck synchronously with students, then afterwards, go ahead and click present this lesson again, put it in student pace activity, and now you can have the student complete it at home. That's another feature. I'm going to say this a lot, but that's another feature that Pear Deck provides, so that student isn't even missing out on that day's content, which is really, really cool. Okay. So you guys know how to create the Pear Deck, right? You know how students are joining it. You know the options given when you're ready to present. How does this look in action, okay? So let's talk about that. Let's look at number 1 right there, where the boy and girl are kind of sitting. This is what we call from the student point of view. And this is the Pear Deck that you created, and whatever response you gave them or whatever it may be, they are interacting with it. 2 is referring to the projector view. This is what is being projected up at the front of the classroom, whether on a whiteboard, smart TV, smart board, TV, whatever it may be. And that way this has nice and big for the teacher and students' reference of what slide you guys are kind of on. And the projector view as well, you are given options in the teacher dashboard to star certain students' responses, and they will pop up anonymously on your projector view to start some great discussion. 3 is referring to the teacher dashboard that I just mentioned. You see that star. This is a premium feature. And this is with a separate piece of technology, preferably one that you can walk around the room with. You are seeing students' responses in real time, okay, and kind of getting that data. And you are able to provide feedback during the lesson because you're seeing how students are doing, not just at the end of the lesson. So how does this look virtually? Very similar. So from the student's point of view, again, they're just interacting with that Pear Deck. From the teacher's point of view, if you do have 2 monitors, on the left-hand side, we have that projector view being shared with students in a Google Meet or whatever video platform service you're using. And then on the right-hand side, we have that teacher dashboard to see how students are doing and if their responses are kind of on track. If you don't have a second monitor, then you can go ahead and split that screen, put the teacher dashboard on the right-hand side, or if you have a separate iPad or even cell phone that you can use for the teacher dashboard, then that is an idea for you. I do love that Pear Deck provides the feature to add a co-teacher if that is the type of teaching style you are doing. And just keep in mind the co-teacher is granted the same controls as the host teacher. So it's really nice because your co-teacher can really even be in another separate area and still be able to be involved with that Pear Deck. And last but not least, this is going to be our very last chunk of step 4 of presenting the Pear Deck. So I've talked a lot about it, and it's called teacher dashboard, and you're probably like, how does this teacher dashboard look? So let me go ahead and show you so that way when you're doing it with students or you're practicing, you have an idea of some of the features that the teacher dashboard in fact provides. Okay, so I'll go ahead and go over to a teacher dashboard. It is for a lesson that I created just for today's training purposes. So I only have 2 students in it. Now, if you were using this in your classroom, then you would have several different student responses, okay? But let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper. So one of my favorite things in the teacher dashboard is the different ways that we can sort and view students' responses. So right now it is in list view and it's showing individual student responses. Again, I only have 2. If I click grid layout, then I can see the whole entire class's responses. So that's a really nice option too as well. And you'll even notice too, this student was starred. And if I star that, that response will then go on the projector view and students will see it up at the front of the whiteboard. And we can talk about those responses. Remember, students don't just learn from us as the teacher, they learn from each other. Okay, so this was another question. So students had to draw 3 times 5 by drawing equal groups of 5. And again, this is list layout, so it's showing the 2 students that I have. Grid layout is showing all of my students, and then we have an overlay option. Now, the overlay option for this one looks a little bit crazy. But let me go ahead and show you a question where the overlay layout is actually really beneficial. I'll skip down to this last question, and it says, which of these doesn't belong? So this was a draggable question, and so I was able to, of course, choose the icon. I chose the thumbs down of which one of these doesn't belong. Then I see all of my students, what they chose. So I would actually put this up on my projector and I would show students and we would talk about that, which is really fun. Again, if I had way more students, it would kind of be fun to see where all of those thumbs down kind of landed. All right, so this is a word problem. Students had to enter in a number options. Remember, students typing in a number is a type of response provided to students. So to give you a little bit more frame of mind, this is what the projector looks like. I actually just kind of showed you some of the responses. Let me show you the question. This is the word problem for students. They had to do 8 times 3 to find out how many baseball cards one did have. And there you go. Students I see all of their responses right there. The overlay layout is really cool for the number of responses. As you can see, the correct number was 24. And I can see where students' answers kind of ranged. And we would have some awesome conversations about that as well. All right, I'll go ahead and go to one more projector type of view question, then show you what that looks like from the teacher dashboard. So select the equation that matches the picture. This was a multiple choice option. Let me show you what that looks like. Grid layout, I see individual students' responses and they chose B. There was an A, B, and C to choose from. B was the correct answer, so happy to see that. If I go into the overlay layout, it actually provides it in a graph view, and I see 2 of the students chose option B. So some really fun and powerful things in the teacher dashboard. I like to refer it as the control panel because there's really so many different things that you can do from this teacher dashboard. This is how we show responses, which you kind of briefly talked about when we hit the snowman. Again, this is how we invite our co-teacher and several other options as well. So that brings us to step 5. You guys are doing so great of how to truly analyze the data that we're getting in PEAR-FECT sessions and how to provide student feedback. Okay, let me actually go ahead and go back to the teacher dashboard, of course, and talk about providing student feedback. You guys might have already noticed, but I am given these speech bubbles right in there, okay? And this is where I can go ahead and click it and leave feedback for students through Pear Deck. At this time, students are not able to respond back to you through Pear Deck. So my recommendation is, if you want to continually to have an ongoing dialogue with your students and have them be able to respond back to you, then use a platform like Google Classroom or something like that, where you can continue to have that discussion. Let's talk a little bit more about analyzing data. And we kind of briefly touched on it by the different ways that we are viewing and sorting our data and responses from students. I want to focus your attention back on that snowman and our last option right there, export to spreadsheet. You guys, with the click of a button, all of the slides that I included in my Pear Deck session, I'm now getting students' responses ready and done for me in a Google Sheet. How cool is that? As if Pear Deck didn't provide us with all of the features already, this is kind of the cherry on top. Now I'll go ahead and walk briefly through it and actually how I analyze the Pear Deck information best. Okay, so Pear Deck provides the date and the time, which is really nice. Again, it says the name and the email, which is nice, and why we keep that student email login on. Slide 1, you guys remember, students had to type in the multiplication equation that matched with the array, and there you go. So slide 2 was a drawing type of response. I'll go to slide 2. Oh, already there. It says show 3 times 5 by drawing equal groups of 5. Now, if we go back into this Google Sheet, you will notice it just says drawing. It doesn't necessarily tell me if students got it correct or incorrect. I'll tell you how I kind of tier that to my liking. Slide 3, students had to just type in the number. I see their responses right there. Slide 4, okay, there we go. So they had to select the equation that matched the picture. So this was a multiple choice response, okay? And it did tell me which equation they selected, which is really nice. Now, you'll notice for slide 5, for the draggable, this looks a little bit confusing. I'm not necessarily too sure if students got this draggable question correct or incorrect. So this is something to keep in mind previously to doing this with your students. Based upon what response type you give to students, when you export this sheet, there's going to be some things that you're going to have to kind of modify, okay? So let me go ahead and show you how I do that. So I'm now switching over to the sheet that I use, just like I downloaded this one, and then continue to customize that. What I like to do is add nice and big the date again, and then also either the standard or specifically the content that Pear Deck was on, which it was multiplication. Okay, so I keep the date and time. That's helpful. I keep the name, keep the email. I also keep the slide 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's already done for me, as well as the responses that tell me if students got it incorrect or correct. Something that I like to add in my Google Sheet is what the question was. So you can either type this out or you can take a screenshot of that slide and add it in. I know that's kind of extra, but you definitely don't have to do that. You can just go ahead and write them in. Now, let me show you how I change slide 2. So for the Pear Deck, right, it just said drawing. All I do is I go back in and I just highlight the ones in green of the students who got that drawing correct and the ones in red who got that drawing incorrect. Same for draggable. I just type in if they got it correct or incorrect. Now, again, this is how I would kind of customize that Google Sheet to my liking. We're all different. If this just gives you a brief idea, then that makes me so happy, because I know we all like to look at our data a little bit differently, but that is just some ideas for you to walk away with today. But again, the fact that Pear Deck just provides this cherry on top to really analyze data every single time that you do a Pear Deck and have that quantifiable data. It's really powerful. All right, guys, that is the end of our session today. You are now a Pear Deck expert. I am so proud of you. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I can't wait for you to implement Pear Deck into your classroom. Again, my name is Kaylin Burnham, and I look forward to our next Tech Talk. Bye.